All right, welcome back. We are going to almost finish Top Secret. We will finish it tomorrow. So today we're reading Chapter 10, which is called The Science Fair. You all know that I'm going to ask you to think about where we left off. Angie, what happened when we stopped reading Friday?
He was at the hotel and then...
Wait, hold on a minute, Angie. Okay, everyone be respectful and quiet. Okay, go on.
He was at the hotel and then Kirby took him to his room and then doctors had to check on Alan.
Mm-hmm. Did they discover that he really is a human plant? What happened? Does anyone want to help Angie out on Hayden?
Kirby said, the person who's taking care of him said that he's just thinking that he's a plant.
Okay, that's what the psychiatrist had said. Does the government actually think he's a plant, Chloe? Yes, that was the big part. So, he was staying with Kirby. He's one of the president's advisors. And Kirby did decide, all the doctors and Kirby, yeah, he's a plant. This is a boy plant. And he knows how to do photosynthesis in humans. Why did he say this isn't necessarily a good thing for the country? Because it has to be top secret now. Quentin, why is it not good for everyone?
Because then a lot of people lose their jobs.
Right. We're in a society where people eat for food, so there is a lot of people who work at getting food to the grocery stores, growing it, selling it, preparing it. And not to mention, if you don't have to work to eat, he was saying people might just stop working, period, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the very end of chapter 9, he said, you can't tell anyone. And he said, what about my parents? What about Miss Green? No one. Do I have your promise? I looked at the floor. Yes, I said, I promise. All right, quit that pencil tapping, please. Thank you. All right, chapter 10, the science fair. As it turned out, I was going to be entering a project in the science fair after all. You see, the president must have felt sorry for me because he sent me a gift. Fully assembled, it stood 6 feet high and just as wide. It consisted of 4 panels of plywood hinged together, lots of photographs, charts, diagrams, a complete notebook of over 100 typed pages, and several samples. Does anyone want to make a prediction on what the project is on? Hayden?
Lipstick.
Yes. It was a science project on lipstick. Sure, the project looked good. In fact, it would probably win us an award. Sure, I was no longer green, which meant I could go back to school. Sure, my turning in a project as nice as this would mean that I would not have to take science over next year with Miss Green. Sure, I should have been happy. But I wasn't. And the reason was simple. The project wasn't mine. I had done something really great. The discovery of human photosynthesis. It was something that no one else had ever done before. And yet, I couldn't tell anybody. The president had made me promise. My parents were happy to see me normal again and eating, but most importantly, they were happy not to hear anything more about my discovery. Mr. Kirby had told them that my condition had been all in the mind, which made my father happy because he had been saying that all along. Noah. Only Grandpop knew that something was wrong. What happened? He asked as he led me by the hand out to the back porch. I can't tell you, Grandpop. How hard would that be? Do you guys think you could not tell Grandpop in this situation if you were the kid?
I have to tell my mom.
It would be so hard. Hayden, thanks for raising your hand.
It would probably be really hard because I try to tell everything that's going on in my life.
Yeah, and usually we're allowed to tell our parents and grandparents, right? So this is one of those crazy situations where he's torn. He doesn't know what to do. You don't have to tell me, he said, kicking his foot in the air. I can figure it out. They don't have the imagination to see how things could be different. So they try to pretend your idea doesn't exist. They hope it'll go away, but it won't. No, sir, Alan Brewster, it won't. I didn't say anything, but I sure was glad that Grandpa believed me, even though Miss Green and my parents would never know the truth. Never know the truth. I found myself repeating the words. Why hadn't I thought of it before? It was perfect. It was a perfect way to convince Miss Green, to prove her once and for all, and yet at the same time keep my promise to the president. It wasn't going to be easy. In fact, there was a big chance it wouldn't work. but I was sure going to give it a try. I raced upstairs to my room. I had work to do. The day of the science fair finally arrived. The science fair is one of the biggest things to happen in our town every year. Grammar schools and high schools. So grammar school is elementary school. A long time ago, that's what they called it. Grammar schools and high schools from all over the country are represented. It's an all-day affair held on the grounds of the State College. The judging of the projects, which are on display in the gym, is done in the morning. Then in the afternoon, it's over to the auditorium where the awards are given out. After that, there's a big picnic on the football field. It's potluck, which means everybody is supposed to bring something. Mom was bringing a liver casserole. How embarrassing if your mother brought a liver casserole for you to share with your friends.
I don't know about
I'd be upset.
liver. What is liver?
I know, but what does liver make us think about? Noah? Okay. We do know that liver was the main ingredient that helped Alan do photosynthesis as a human. Cadence?
They might not like it and they might try to plants.
It could happen. All right. I lost my spot. I got up early and rode my bike over to the fair. The night before, my dad and I had set up my project in the gym like all the other kids. I wanted to check over my project one more time before the judging started. If my plan was going to work, everything had to be perfect. As I walked into the entrance to the gym, I ran head-on into Miss Green. I might as well have run into a truck. I just saw your project, Miss Green said as she picked me up off the floor and dusted me off. I thought for sure I was going to have to flunk you, Alan Brewster, but with a project as nice as that, I just can't. Thank you, I said. The judging took place at 10 o'clock. Each student was required to stand by his or her project to answer questions. Peggy Applegate was on one side of me with her ant farm. Barry Kramer was on the other side with a project on motorcycle compression ratios, which his father probably did for him. It wasn't until the judges were talking to Peggy that I noticed my lipstick samples were missing. I looked over at Barry. His pockets were bulging. "Something bothering you?" he said to me with that sickening grin of his. I hadn't counted on this. That idiot, Barry Kramer, was going to mess up my plan. As I was thinking of what to do, the judges gathered around my project. "Excellent," said the first judge, adjusting his glasses as he looked at my photographs and charts. "Fine job," said the second judge, who was wearing white gloves as she thumbed through my notebook. "Do you have any samples?" asked a third judge, a tall man with a pointed beard. "Yes, sir," I answered. "Where are they? I don't see them." I gave them to my assistant to polish. I looked over at Barry Kramer, and so did the judges. "You're finished polishing them, aren't you, Barry?" "What are you talking about?" said Barry nervously. I pointed at his bulging pockets. "I'm talking about those lipsticks in your pockets." Barry realized he was caught and handed them over. I thought that was pretty clever of Alan.
Yeah.
"He's a little forgetful," I told the judges, "but he does good work." I gave the lipsticks to the judges to examine. An hour later, the judges came back and pinned a blue ribbon on my project. I had won Best Science Project for a fourth grader. I can't tell you how bad that made me feel. It was so dishonest. Some of those kids had really worked hard. I hadn't done a thing. The blue ribbon didn't belong to me. I realized right then and there that I couldn't accept it. As I was about to say something to one of the judges, Miss Green came up to me and planted a big slobbery kiss on my cheek.
Oh.
"Congratulations, Alan," she said. "Thanks." I wiped my cheek with my shirt sleeve. I had never seen Miss Green like this before. She was almost human. "I'm so proud of you." She just stood there staring at me. It was nothing, really. And then I decided it was time. Motioning towards my lipstick samples, I asked her, "Would you like one of these, Miss Green?" "For me?" She pointed her thumb toward her chest. "Yes, but I would like to ask you a favor." "Anything, Alan." "Would you put it on?" Miss Green hesitated. "Well, I don't normally wear lipstick." "Please, it would mean a whole lot to me. Okay, for you, I'll do it. Miss Green examined the samples, reading the different names. I think I'll try tomato yellow. Good choice, I said, smiling. I watched as Miss Green smeared on the lipstick. Her lips were large, especially the lower one that curled up, and she used a lot. Like a pouty lip is what he's saying. Then, just as my mom does, Miss Green ran her tongue all around her lips, licking them. You know what? I'm going to read you a bonus chapter today because I'm feeling it. Okay? Bonus chapter. This one's called The Awards. Everything was going according to plan. Sorry, I'm just seeing how long I've been reading. All right. Everything was going according to plan. At 1 o'clock, it was time for the public presentation of awards, and we all crowded into the auditorium. A few minutes earlier, I had gone out to the parking lot and had found Miss Green's car. I wrote down her license number on a piece of paper, all part of the plan. Inside the auditorium, I was shocked to see so many people. Nearly every seat was taken. On the stage, there was a row of chairs with distinguished-looking people sitting in them, and off to the right, a podium with a microphone. Below the stage were the awards spread out on 3 long tables. Right in the middle of the center table was the silver trophy. It was all polished and shined up and really looked beautiful. I waved to my mom and dad and grandpa, who just arrived as the first speaker stepped to the podium. I was glad they were late, which meant they would be sitting in the back of the auditorium and wouldn't be able to see what was going to happen. I didn't sit with them because all students were supposed to sit with their science teacher in pre-assigned rows of seats. I made sure I was sitting right next to Miss Green. It was all part of the plan. The speeches were long and boring. The way some of those people talked, you'd have thought they had done all the work. I looked at my watch. I looked at Miss Green. I checked my pockets. In one pocket, I had a small mirror, which I had brought from home. In my other pocket, I had a cookie, all part of the plan. A tall man with orange hair and wearing a checkered suit stepped behind the podium and began reading off the names of the winners, who in turn came forward and picked up their awards. There was a lot of noise and applause after each name was called. He had started with the grade school awards first. Then he would go on to the high school awards, and then last, the grand prize, the silver trophy. I looked at my watch again. I looked at Miss Green, studying her face. I went over the plan one more time in my mind, and then it was time. Miss Green, I tugged on her sleeve. What is it, Alan? Said Miss Green, obviously annoyed that I was interfering with her enjoyment of the award ceremonies. Is this the license number of your car? I handed Miss Green the slip of paper. Why, yes, she said, examining the numbers. I believe it is. What of it? You left your lights on. I'm sorry I forgot to tell you before. I did what? Your lights. I noticed them when I walked over here from the gym. I came right through the parking lot. Are you sure it was my car, Alan? Positive, Miss Green. That's why I took down the license number, just to be sure. Miss Green made her way to the aisle, then went out the side exit to the parking lot. I followed. I had to get Miss Green away from everybody, and I didn't have much time. Outside, I ran up to Miss Green, taking her by the arm. You better hurry, Miss Green, before the battery goes dead. You're right, Alan, she said, taking longer strides across the parking lot. I hope we're in time. When we got to the car, Miss Green noticed immediately that her lights were not on. I'm sorry, Miss Green, I said. I pulled a trick on you. You what? Miss Green's eyes narrowed. You better have a good explanation for this. I have, I answered, but I want you to promise to hear me out. It will take only 5 minutes. Miss Green looked back across the parking lot to the auditorium. But you'll miss your award, Alan. This is more important to me, I told her. It is? Yes. Miss Green studied my face. All right, go ahead, Alan. I proceeded to tell her the whole story, right from the beginning. Everything. Even about the lipstick project that wasn't mine, and about my promise to the president. I'm not breaking my promise to the president, I said, because I'm not going to tell you how it works. I'm only going to convince you that it does work. I don't accept you to believe me without proof, but I have the proof. Believe me, I have all the proof you'll ever need. All I want is for you to believe me, Miss Green. Miss Green scratched the underside of her chin, her eyes thin slits as she studied me. Let's see the proof, Alan. I reached into my pocket and took out the mirror and held it up to Miss Green's face so she could see herself. Your proof, Miss Green. I've turned you into a plant. How did Alan turn her into a plant? Eric?
By the lipstick.
The lipstick. Do you want to just go ahead and finish the book today?
Yes.
All right, we'll finish the book today. All right. Chapter 12, The Silver Trophy. You've done what? Miss Green snatched the mirror out of my hand and looked at herself. She had turned bright green. She let out a blood-curdling scream. Look what you've done to me! She pulled at her cheeks, rubbed at her forehead. Don't worry, I said, holding out a white pill in my hand. I have the antidote, so you can change yourself back. It only takes 5 minutes. The president's advisors gave me 2 pills, but I only needed 1. Miss Green was still studying herself in the mirror. How did you do it? The lipstick I gave you. I made it very concentrated, which made it very fast acting. After you put on the lipstick, you licked your lips. That's all it took. What was in the lipstick, Alan? I can't tell you that. It's a secret. Top secret. Are you sure I'm a plant, Alan? Miss Green couldn't take her eyes off the mirror. Are you absolutely sure? I reached into my pocket and took out the cookie. Try and eat this. You'll see. Miss Green tried to take a bite of the cookie, but couldn't. I can't do it, she said. I feel as if I was going to get sick. Feel your tongue, I said. It's so smooth, said Miss Green. Yeah, your taste buds are disappearing. You don't eat them anymore. Also, be careful not to stand in mud and sand for too long without moving. Your roots might take hold. My roots? Miss Green looked terrified. It's not as easy as you think being a plant. You've got to get plenty of sun and drink lots of water and watch out for aphids. But don't worry, if you take this pill, you'll be back to normal in no time. I handed Miss Green the pill. She held it in her hand for a long time, just looking at it. Don't you realize, Alan, she said, how important this discovery is? I've waited 20 years to find someone like you in my class. I'm not going to keep quiet about this. I'm going to tell everyone I know. I'm going to scream it from the rooftops. You're wasting your time, I laughed. No one will believe you. And anyway, the president's advisor said that would be bad for the country. Oh, phooey, said Miss Green. The truth must not be silenced. You should have told them in the first place. You shouldn't have told them in the first place. Well, what other choice did I have? No one else would listen to me. Simply write it down, Alan. Let the future be your judge, not the present. With that, Miss Green threw the pill with all her might, sending it halfway across the parking lot. Did you guys just hear what she just did?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Cadence? True. And what else does it mean for Miss Green, Josiah?
She's stuck as a plant.
She is going to stay a plant.
She wants to.
I'm going back over to the auditorium, she told me. I'm going to grab the microphone and announce it to the world. Do you have any more lipsticks so we can provide it to the dim-wits who don't believe us? Yes, I said. I don't know which color you'd pick, so I made a whole bunch. They're with my project. Good, go get them. I hesitated. Miss Green, I have a question. Shoot. Do you think my discovery will win the silver trophy? Miss Green smiled, something I'd never seen her do before. You bet your bottom dollar. Now hurry. I took off, running towards the entrance to the gym to get the lipsticks. Miss Green took off, running across the parking lot to the auditorium. I looked back over my shoulder just in time to see 2 men jump out of a brown car and grab Miss Green. They shoved her into the back seat of the car and drove off. It happened so fast there was nothing I could do. Right, raise your hand if you think you know who those people were. Madeline?
The president's people.
Yeah, the Secret Service. All right. Now we are to the epilogue. The epilogue of the story is kind of like the prologue. So the prologue of our story was before chapter 1. That was an introduction at the beginning. And if you remember, this is how it started. I'm writing this down in case something should happen. He tells who he is, what's been happening. There's a car out front watching me. My story began several months ago in Miss Green's science class at school, ... And then we just read the whole book. Now here is the epilogue. So he's back under his bed finishing writing his story. My flashlight is so dim now that I can barely see to write these last few words. It was announced at school that Miss Green had been transferred to another district, although no one seemed to know exactly where. Grandpa thinks something bad has happened to her. He says she's probably been planted somewhere. I'm not sure. What do you think? Speaking of you, now that you've read this and you know the secret, watch out. The end.
Yay!
All right, I will see you guys soon for a new story.